You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
Pirate fans, welcome into the show tonight. Excited to be here as always, and another season. We're about halfway through here, and it seems like these weeks are just flying by. But just like that, we're heading into week 7. You got to enjoy every week of the college football season because it does go very quickly. Looking forward to this weekend. Let me take a second here and welcome in my partner of ESPN3, Jay Sonnhalter. Jay, how you doing tonight?
I'm great, Maddie. Good to be with you and Bubba. I can't believe it's already mid-season.
Unbelievable, right? It's every year September tends to fly by, and but I'll tell you, I love October, November college football as the weather starts to change a little bit. You start to get some snow, some sleet, some wind, changes the game. The dynamics of the game a little bit, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, this is when everything really gets good because conference play starting. Teams are buying for conference championships, bowl games, and then football weather is October. Football was not fun in August when it's 110 degrees. Football is fun when it's cooler, and I think everybody looks forward to this time of year.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Jay. And so, hey, buddy. So, hey, we are officially tied on the season. We're both 15 and 16. Excuse me. I mean, that's pretty consistent. Hey, at least neither one of us are doing great. At least we're losing together.
we still our hot streak's still on the horizon. Our hot streak's going to start this week.
Yeah. I told you my ego was a little bruised a few weeks ago, so I wanted to bounce back. And I'll tell you, I feel pretty good about my picks last weekend, except though, I'll take heat for this one. The both of us, I mean, we both liked Oklahoma to cover the 7-point spread against Texas. And, they took a woodshed beating 49-0, which neither one of us expected.
What the heck is going on at Oklahoma? I mean, I know they lost a bunch of players, but I can't believe that happened on Saturday, especially after they started off the season so good.
Right. It's bizarre. I mean, I was saying to you guys before the show, Jay, in your lifetime, has Oklahoma ever lost a game anywhere close to 49-0? I mean, that just doesn't happen in Norman.
Yeah, I mean, that shouldn't happen. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on there. There's something, because when we're looking at a game, I mean, it's a rivalry game. And Oklahoma's been down the past couple weeks. You figure they're going to kind of find a way or at least keep it close. But that thing was over. I mean, that thing was over before it started. So they've got some things they've got to fix over there. And I know they've lost a lot of people to the transfer portal and new coaching staff and everything. And I like Brent Venables, from his past, but there's something going on there. And they're going to have to figure out a solution this season to get it right, with recruiting and getting new guys in there.
Yeah, the fans down in Oklahoma are they're not gonna put up with that very long. Hard to believe an Oklahoma team with all the talent they get, even on a down year, could ever be this bad. It's kind of shocking, but hey, it is what it is. Maybe they have a chance to right the ship. And speaking of Oklahoma, Jay, it's not going to get easier for them this weekend as they host the Kansas Jayhawks. I'm going to say your Kansas Jayhawks, Jay, because that's been your team all year.
Yeah, they've been unbelievable. I mean, even though they didn't win that game, I'm a big fan of theirs, and they've talked to the players and coaches. I'm just so happy for them because that school's been, so hard to find wins in the past. And then Lance Leipold came in last year, turned it around, and they've got the right coach, the right players, and they deserve to win over there. So they're one of my favorite teams.
Yeah, absolutely. You love to see that there. Unfortunately, the quarterback went down with an injury. So, you hope that they're able to, keep things going in the right direction. But I'll tell you, Jay, one of the games we previewed last week was the UCLA game. UCLA at home, hosting Utah. Utah was a 3.5-point favorite. Both of us liked the Bruins at home. And they got it done in a big way. That's a team right now, when you look around college football and you think about, all right, who's kind of the surprise team of the year that nobody really saw coming that's just incredibly hot right now is UCLA.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, and kind of when you look at their roster, they've got a veteran quarterback guy that's been there for many years, and a bunch of guys that have been coming up. And even though they haven't won anything really until this year, they've been building, and nobody really said anything. And then now all of a sudden, looking at their record, they're undefeated, and they've got a chance because they play so well along the offensive and defensive line, and that they've got a really good running game, smart quarterback. So they've got a lot of pieces that you want to have a good year.
Yeah, very impressive team. And again, I'll say going into the season, I was not a believer in UCLA. But that team, they're on fire and they're playing really good football. And they're not just winning by 2 or 3 points. I mean, they're putting it on teams pretty good. So you got to be impressed with what's going on out there. And I rarely, as you know, I rarely give any credit to the Pac-12. So not my brand of football out there.
Well, and rarely do they deserve it. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. And they haven't as of late.
Exactly. Yeah. But hey, you got to give credit where credit's due, right? So, what we're going to do, we're going to preview the top 5 games in college football this week, as we do every week. But before we do that, we like to just do a little recap of the East Carolina game every week. And Jay, one of my worst fears came true, and Pirates heading down to New Orleans to play a good Tulane team who has it all going in the right direction, and just didn't play well at all, didn't execute offensively, and takes a big loss there. What are your thoughts on that game?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is that's a tough ball game going on the road to Tulane. Tulane's outstanding. So we knew going into that ball game that was going to be a tough one. I mean, I think, obviously the South Florida game was a huge win. Then you come back and you have a tough loss against a really good team. How are they going to respond? That's what I look towards. How are they going to respond this weekend against Memphis? How are they going to respond against UCF? Because this schedule coming up, this is the meat of the schedule, all conference games except for BYU. But I mean, this is a tough stretch of opponents. So how do you get back up after you face the adversity? How are they going to come out and play? That's the thing that, for them, you have to look at these past 3 games. There's a lot of good, and then there's some things, they wish they could take back, or some outcomes they wish they could change. But now the rest of the season is really going to tell what this season's all about. So it's going to be important for them, especially this week in practice, to make sure they get their focus redirected after a tough game and get back and play their best ball on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree with you totally, Jay. I mean, I expect this game to be an absolute bloodbath against Memphis. Like, you're going to have 2 teams that, kind of wounded animals. Memphis coming off that painful loss to Houston, where they blew, I don't know if it was a 14 or a 17-point lead late in the game. But Houston scored, got an onside kick, scored again. And that was a brutal loss for Memphis. And then obviously the Pirates, who, the word that comes to mind for me this week, I've been kind of saying it over and over, not to sound like a broken record, but underachieving. That's the word that comes to mind. I feel like this team is just not getting it done for the talent they have. And so I do expect the Pirates to come back this week with a chip on their shoulder at home. Because really, hard to believe, but we're at that point in the season now, Jay. This is the tipping point. If you drop another conference game, you're going to have a hard time really obviously winning a conference championship, but now even maybe getting into a bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about, when you look at any team, it's about, what's their talent level? Like, what's the potential? And then, do you stay consistent week in and week out, and how much better do you get? And the goal for East Carolina or any team is, hey, we got to get better each week, but also, we need to play consistently good. We're not going to play perfect every week, but we can't play great, then bad, then in the middle, then bad, then great. We need to be consistently good to great every week. And those are the teams that, go undefeated or, lose one game. So that's got to be the goal is, hey, the past 6 games are over. We learned a lot, but we got to get back on that trajectory to, winning ball games, being consistent, and continuing to get better, because a lot of teams don't get better, or they don't play their best. They get in conference play, and some teams rise and some teams fall. You want to be the team that's continuing to rise.
Absolutely, Jay. That's a great point. That is a great point. And Mike Houston's teams tend to have a way of getting better as the season goes on. I've kind of observed that about his teams over the years when you look back at where he's been. And the other thing, Jay, I wanted to mention, you kind of look at the American Conference. You can see the way it's taking shape now. Cincinnati at the top. But I'll tell you, I think Tulane is right there with Cincinnati. I really do. I think that from a coaching standpoint, they're right there. I really like the quarterback. They're just a very poised team. They don't make a lot of mistakes to beat themselves. I think Tulane is right there. And then UCF, I think, is nipping at their heels a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Tulane's legit. Tulane is great, and they've got a great quarterback. Anytime you have Michael Pratt, you're going to have a chance, and UCF as well. But, I mean, when you look at those teams, I mean, none of them scare me, but they've been consistently pretty good. So anybody can win in this league. It's about who's getting better and who can limit turnovers. I mean, really, there's Alabama isn't in the American, but you've got to play consistent. You have to, have no turnovers. And this goes for any team, whether East Carolina or anybody else. That's who's going to win the league. Because I think we all agree Cincinnati is drastically they're still really good, but they're drastically different from last year where they had all those draft picks.
It's a great point. That is a great point. And, there's no doubt the turnovers will kill you every time. As we're seeing here at East Carolina, these turnovers are just killing us. Some of these interceptions, some of these fumbles. But we'll get more into that game later. The one other team, speaking of teams on the rise that I wanted to mention, Jay, how about Navy? Just absolutely blowing out a pretty good Tulsa team. Navy is one of these teams, they tend to get better every year as the season goes on. You're better off playing them in September, preferably the first 2 weeks of the season, because they're always going to get better.
Well, they've got a young team too. So, it's not surprising they started off slow. When they played East Carolina, they have the bye week, which definitely helped them. But that's what Navy does. I mean, they get better, and that offense especially, it takes so much time to kind of get into a rhythm, but it seems like they hit their stride on defense. They're small and they're undersized, but they do a lot of different schemes. So I think they're kind of getting into a flow now, and right as they get into conference play.
Absolutely. And you saw that graphic there on the bottom of the screen, 450 yards rushing against Tulsa. That's not a bad day at the office. So great performance there. But with that said, Jay, let's go ahead and get into it, my friend. Another week, another chance to make some great picks here. Some really, really outstanding games this weekend. And Bubba, our producer tonight, Bubba Rosenbaum, who does a great job helping us out here, is going to put the first one on the screen here. And we have number 3, Alabama, Jay, a 7-point favorite heading into Knoxville against number 6, Tennessee. Huge
Good
game
gosh.
here.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, you look at that and you're like, gosh, Tennessee's great. They can cover that at home. You never know about Alabama, so I'm going to go with Crimson Tide.
Ooh, that was a confident pick, Jay. There was no hesitation there.
There's hesitation in my heart, but confidence verbally. This is a tough one for me. I mean, I don't, Alabama's looked legit in some games and also looked vulnerable. So I'm going to say that they can go ahead and do this on the road, but I don't feel too confident in it.
Now, here's the question: is Bryce Young? What is his status? I had heard he could be out for a pretty long period of time here. Have you heard anything more, or maybe Bubba has, about his status? Because obviously that's a guy that's a Heisman quarterback.
Yeah, and I was saying that I'm picking them even with their backup in, but I mean that's where I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I mean, I think they're hopeful, but I don't have anything definitive.
Yeah, no, I got you. So This is an interesting one. Tennessee is a hot team right now. I mean, they absolutely demolished LSU last week on the road. You see some really weird games lately with these teams historically that are so great, like LSU just taking these blowout losses. But I think this is the biggest game in Knoxville in probably 20 years. Here they are. They're ranked number 6. They've had some really good wins this year. That fan base is going to be electric. It's going to be absolutely electric. Love the quarterback for Tennessee, and I love their ability to score points. And I just have a feeling, they've been trying to break through for a long time. And I like the fact that, here's the thing, I like the fact they're in Knoxville, Jay, and I like the fact that they're getting Alabama's second string quarterback, who at this point is a little more of a runner than he is a thrower. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. I know it's a 7-point spread, but I'm going to say Tennessee gets it done at home in a very close game. I think they pull away late and maybe win this game by a touchdown or 10 points.
See, I agree with you, Matty. The reason I'm going with Alabama is, why would they be favored on the road against a top 6 team? That's where I'm just like, what does Vegas know that I don't know? But really, in my heart, I agree with you. I agree with the balls.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, what do they know? Maybe they're just not believers in Tennessee. I'll tell you, though, I just can't wait to watch that game. It's going to be electric. Can you imagine, 110,000 people in that stadium? They're going to be going crazy. So that's going to be a really fun game to watch. It's a 3:30 kickoff on CBS. So to me, that, in my opinion, that's the best game of the week and maybe the best game of the season to this point.
Well, I kind of leaned on both sides. So if I lose that one, at least give me a half a point, since I threw in a plug for Tennessee.
You could hedge it. You could hedge it. All right, so here we go, Jay. Moving right along. Number 10, Penn State at number 5, Michigan. Michigan is a 7-point favorite at home. What are your thoughts here, Jay?
Well, I think this rivalry game, I think this is going to be really close. Again, I'm surprised the spread is 7. It's like, well, why would it be that high? But I'm going to go against the grain. And I know you're probably going to pick differently on this one. But I'm going to go Michigan -7.
Okay. All right. Hey, listen, you can never go wrong with the Wolverines at home in the big house. So I have quite a bit to say about this one. I did some research on this one, as I typically do, Jay, right? So take a look at Michigan here. They're undefeated. Their margin of victory is massive. But if you take a look at their schedule, they've played, first of all, every game has been at home. They've literally played some of the worst teams in the country. They played UConn. They beat them by about 100. They played Colorado State, who this might be Colorado State's worst team ever. They played Hawaii, who is absolutely atrocious football team. Then you look at some of their Big Ten opponents, right? They played a bad Iowa team with no offense. They played a bad Indiana team who got blown out by our conference mate, Cincinnati. No shame there. But this is not the Indiana team that we've seen in recent years. So what's my point? My point is Michigan's been beating up on awful teams. They played one team with a pulse, and that's Maryland. Okay, that's the one team they played with a pulse, and they almost lost that game at home. I think they won 24-17. They were able to pull it out. So, and then I look at Penn State. I love what they're doing at Penn State. They have a lot of great young talent. Love the freshman running back. I think they have it moving in the right direction. So, the big question for me is Sean Clifford. He's so Jekyll and Hyde. He can have incredible games, and then you see him the next week, and he doesn't look so great, and he's not the most consistent quarterback. But with that said, I think this is going to be an absolute war. I think they're two pretty even teams. I thought this would be, in my opinion, I think this is more of a pick'em game with a slight favorite to the Wolverines since it's in the big house. 7-point spread shocked me, Jay. Shocked me. So I'm going to go with the Nittany Lions to not only cover the spread, but money line to just actually win the game outright in the big house. Confidence.
Well, I mean, all your stats and everything make total sense. I mean, I'm with you 100%. Again, I mean, that Alabama one and this one. I mean, I can't believe the spread is that high. Because to me, the Alabama game, you know, if you're going to go Alabama, you would have thought, you know, maybe -3 Alabama, not -7. Same with Michigan.
Right.
I mean, maybe -3, -4. That's why I'm shocked that it's that high.
Exactly. And Penn State's been good on the road. I mean, they went down to Auburn a few weeks ago and they beat them by about 35. So I'm really surprised. And to your point, though, Jay, it's like, what does Vegas know that we don't? Because they know a lot more than we do. So, unfortunately. But love that game. I love that matchup. And yeah, to Bubba's point, Penn State with a very close win at Purdue, who's proven to be a good football team. You know, very solid football team. So that's going to be another fun one to watch. So I think those are the two biggest games of the week, in my opinion. What's next, Bubba? All right. Number 8, Oklahoma State at number 13, TCU, who's a 4-point favorite at home. Jay, what do you think?
All right, I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State on the road to cover. TCU had a tough game with Kansas last week. It's tough to play, you know, that well 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State to go in and at least cover the 4 points.
I like that pick. I mean, the Big 12 is, in my opinion, the Big 12 is the hardest conference to try to predict these winners. I mean, it's just like you never know. But TCU, great job last week going on the road at Kansas and finding a way to get it done there. That was a tremendous game. TCU comes back home, 4-point favorite. That's another spread that I just can't wrap my head around. Oklahoma State can score points like crazy. They do give up points, but they can score points like crazy. I'm with you on this one, Jay, 100%. I think Oklahoma State finds a way to cover that 4-point spread, and Mike Gundy gets it done. First agreement of the night. All right, Bubba. Got a little technical difficulty here. All right. All right, Jay, here we go. Number 15.
Here we go.
Had a little technical difficulty there for a second. My bad. Number 15, NC State at number 18, Syracuse. Syracuse is a 3. Am I seeing this right? Syracuse is a 3.5-point favorite at home.
Yeah, here we go. So Devin Leary's not playing. NC State on the road. You know, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the backup quarterback. Syracuse is ranked, playing great. I'm going to go with Syracuse, maybe with the home field advantage. I think that's going to help them out.
So he's hurt. He's not playing. Jay, correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't know if you remember this. The quarterback, the backup that came in, I think his name is it Powers? Is that right?
It's Jack Chambers.
Chambers, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, was
from
he
Charleston Southern? Yeah.
So is he the guy that like basically ran all over us in the first half?
He was at Charleston Southern. Yeah, he was at Charleston Southern, really good player. And he came in in the second half when Leary got hurt. Now he didn't throw the ball, like they didn't have him throw it. But I mean he's going to be the starter.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't realize that Leary wasn't playing this week. So here's Kyle Barber with a comment. NC State quarterback out. Give me the orange. So Kyle sounds very confident in that one. So Jay, going up to the Carrier Dome here. So what are your thoughts on the spread here?
I'm going to go with Syracuse. I think they're going to pull it out. I think they're going to cover the 3.5.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you, they've been really good at home this year. They've had some good home wins. They beat Purdue at home. Really impressive win. They beat Virginia a few weeks ago. They've been very solid offensively. They're really disgusting to watch. To be honest, they don't really have seem to have like a great offensive system. The quarterback just runs all over the field and just kind of like makes plays with his feet and finds a way to beat people. Defensively, though, they're very good. So if Leary was playing, Jay, I would say NC State, but with the backup quarterback, I think that puts them in a position where they're a little more one-dimensional. I'm going to agree with you here. I'll take the Cuse, the Orangeman. I'm going to agree with Kyle Barber, too. The Cuse gets it done in the Carrier Dome. And it's been a while since we've seen a Syracuse team in the top, 16 like this. So it's nice to see. Bubba, what do we got next here, my friend? All right, Jay. Going back out to the West Coast, to Pac-12. Number 7, USC at number 20, Utah. Utah is a 3.5-point favorite at home.
This is one you're like, I can't believe Utah lost last week, but UCLA is good on the road. That was a trap game before this big one. I'm going to go with Utah cover. I think USC is due for a loss, and Utah is going to come back home and protect the home field advantage and give USC the first loss of the season.
I like it. I like that pick. Every one of these games is tough. Let me say this, Jay. Even though we have like a 500 record for the season, we're not looking for like scrub games to pick, easy winners. We're picking the hardest games every week.
Yeah.
Well,
oh yeah.
So these are tough games to pick, and this is another one. Utah, I'll tell you, that's a team I was very high on coming into the season because of the way they won the Pac-12 last year and then the way they played in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State. I was really, really high on Utah. They came into the season ranked number 4. They've been a little bit disappointing, with that opening game loss at Florida in the Swamp. They kind of pulled it back together, and then last week they got beat up on pretty good at UCLA. But now they go back home, and they're always a dangerous team at home. And I think it's going to be a really close game, but I agree with you here. I think Utah, it's 3.5. That's a tough spread. I would love it at 3, but at 3.5, I'm just going to say I think Utah, only because they're home, finds a way to bounce back and get it done here. So I'm going to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the pressure gets higher and higher when you're undefeated. In Utah, again, they've lost a couple. They're a really good team, but they can't lose another one. And I think, even though everybody comes out with that mentality to win, sometimes some teams are more desperate than others. So I think they're going to win at home.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they do, Jay. I'm just not a fan of USC. I think that ranking is a little bit too high for where they are right now. I mean, I'm just not ready to say that they're a number 7 team in the country playing that schedule out in the Pac-12. So, and then as Bubba put up here, plus the USCD is shaky. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. So. Interesting to watch, but I hope Utah gets it done at home. All right, Bubba. Was that all 5? That was we hit on all 5, Jay. We hit on all 5 pretty quickly. So
that's every game.
All right, thanks, buddy. So with that said, going back to take a look at the East Carolina Memphis game now. Just talk a little bit more about this one. Bubba, it's a 3.5-point spread. Am I correct? Or is it now up to 5?
Last I saw it, guys, it was up to 5. I will see if it's held there, but because that was yesterday. But it opened at 3 or 3.5 and then rose to 5.
Okay. So now, Bubba, just to backtrack for a minute before we move on, I want to get your thoughts here. I want to get your thoughts on 2 of the biggest games of the week. taking a look at that Alabama game in Knoxville. What do you think about that one? I think I lost you. Jay, can you hear Bubba?
No, I'm here though.
I think you cut out on us, Bubba. All right, so apologize for the technical difficulties tonight. We're having a little bit here. Bubba cut out there, but so Jay, looking at this East Carolina game, favorite at home. What do you think? Who do you think is going to pull this game out?
Okay, here I'm here. Okay, so I mean I think it's all going to come down to which team tough losses each Memphis and East Carolina last week. Which team is more desperate? Which team has more to prove? Which team is going to come out fired up and looking to rebound from last week? So I think the first quarter is going to be really important in this game. I think East Carolina is going to go back to winning in the line play. And I think East Carolina is going to come out and play a really good game and win the ball game.
All right. I like it. One of the big things I'm looking for this week, Jay, is Keaton Mitchell. He should be healthy. Last week, I felt like he still wasn't quite there. The way he ran well, and he's banged up, obviously, with that hip pointer. I thought he was running a little bit more laterally, a little more sideline to sideline, and not really hitting, getting north, as they say, and getting upfield. And I think that was a sign that he's banged up. But another week later, I expect him to be, much healthier. And he's the type of guy where, if he can give you one of those explosive plays a game where he breaks through and he takes off for like a 50 or 60-yard game, that can make all the difference. So really hoping to see, Keaton Mitchell healthy here, Jay.
Well, I think the health, especially this time of the year where for East Carolina, injuries are coming into play with some of the guys on the team. So if he's healthy and he can have those explosive plays, when he has that threat of the big runs or catch where he can take it the distance, it opens up everything and more opportunities and really puts the defense on their heels.
Yeah, absolutely. We've missed his big play ability, his explosive play, and Marlon Gunn. You got to love what he's doing as a true freshman. He got a little banged up last week too, but he's going to be fine to play. And Jalen Johnson, our wide receiver, he's questionable. Sounds like he's got a nagging back injury, maybe some back spasms or something along those lines. But something's going on with his back there. And Jay, I don't know if you saw Donnie Kirkpatrick's press conference today, but our true freshman Brock Spalding, Donnie mentioned that he's been practicing really well. They wanted to redshirt him, but he feels like he's, maybe just too good to keep off the field. So we might see him get some run this week.
Well, and I've seen him from high school and his tape, and he's a really good route runner, has excellent speed, good hands. I mean, he's going to be a guy that's a great player. So I know they've really, been excited about what he's shown. So if he gets an opportunity, I think he's got the ability to make plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay, what kind of score do you think this game is going to look like? Like when it's all said and done, obviously we don't know, we can't predict the exact score, but just like roughly, like, are you thinking this is like a 35-30 type game, a high scoring game? Like, what are you seeing here?
I think it's going to be in the 20s.
Okay.
I think it'll be somewhere in the 20s because I think East Carolina's defense is really good, and I think Memphis. I think it's going to be a contested ball game. I don't think each team is going to, go run up and down the field. I think there's going to be good offense and good defense, but I believe it's going to be in the 20s.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. And hey, whatever East Carolina has in the tank, and hey, great point by Kyle Barber, Brock Spalding. I hear he has balls. Yeah, hey. I definitely hope so. So, hopefully he can get it done this weekend. But I was just going to say, and this will be my final point of the night, but I think whatever East Carolina has left in the tank, they need to basically come out and empty the playbook. They need to be creative. They need to pull out all the stops to get a win here, because if you lose this game, you're really behind the 8 ball with UCF coming in next Saturday night, Jay. So hopefully the crowd is loud, really into the game. It's a 7:30 kickoff. Should be a pretty wild environment in Greenville, and looking forward to that one. So with that said, Jay, where are you this weekend?
I will be at Campbell. So Robert Morris at Campbell on Saturday, and then high school on Friday night, Millbrook and Wakefield. So have a Friday, Saturday coming up. So can't wait. Should be good games, and then be able to watch East Carolina.
Another busy weekend for you, buddy. Appreciate you as always. Love the picks. Have a great call and a great weekend. And, with that said, appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Please visit our YouTube channel at The Sports Objective. Please like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. And once again, appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a great night, and go Pirates.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates. Listen to the show pretty much everywhere podcasts are found. Be sure to follow us on social media at The Sports OBJ on Twitter and TikTok, at The Sports Objective on Instagram. Like and follow our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. As always, we appreciate you listening to the show, and go Pirates!